After 30,000 years in Australia, the hunting skills and survival techniques of the original inhabitants, the Aborigines, are rapidly disappearing. With the arrival of the European settlers, the ancient lifestyle changed. Until today, there are few Aborigines who hunt with their spears and live on their tribal lands. During the dry season of 1976, I camped with a small group of these people in the central Kimberley region of Western Australia. And this film is a record of my experiences with these remarkable people. It all started back in 1971, when I drove through the Kimberley while producing another film called Follow the Sun. This time, I'm hoping to retrace my original route and reach the far western coast, to fish for barramundi and visit an Aboriginal friend of mine, Wattie Nurdu. Wattie has recently resettled his tribal lands, establishing a cattle station, and I'm interested to see how he's progressing. Some of Wattie's relatives are camped along the way, and I plan to stop at their camp and get a report on the track west. There's the camp now, just ahead. Everyone greets us as the Land Rover slows to a halt. Ordu and Collier welcome me warmly. Kim Allen, my travelling companion, is most intrigued by the kangaroo, cooked, wrapped, ready for delivery. Almost immediately, I'm confronted with the problems ahead. Collier explains that the track through to the coast is in a terrible state. The last cyclone washed out long sections, and many large trees are down. There's no way we can get through towing my boat. If I want to see Wattie and catch those barramundi, we'll have to return south and travel up along the coast in the boat. But before turning back, we're invited to stay a while in this camp, and as it turns out, it's an unforgettable experience. These people, members of the Warora and Warrnambool tribes, have recently left the towns and returned to the bush, to work, to hunt and find peace. Daily, the men go off looking for game and rarely return empty-handed. Spears are still used, although the rifle is fast replacing them. Ordu has just brought in 2 wild turkeys. This will be the main meal for the day. It's now late in the dry season, and there's always a chance of an early thunderstorm. So Kim collects large sheets of paper bark for a shelter. This is the material that the Aborigines have always used for bedding, for wrapping possessions and food, and for housing. Within half an hour, Collier has shown Kim how to build a secure and highly functional hut. Until recently, these dwellings were always constructed during the wet season. Another skill that is rapidly dying out is the manufacture of spears. Here, Collier is using a kangaroo bone to flake a piece of quartz, producing a razor-sharp spear tip. Once he's satisfied with the shape and size, the tip is fixed into position with a resin obtained from spinifex plants. The resin is soft and pliable when hot, but as it cools, it hardens to hold the stone tip securely in place. These Aborigines use an exceptionally long spear thrower, or woomera. It enables the thrower to launch the spear with tremendous power and accuracy. Such is the force that the spear bends as it whips from the woomera. When the men hunt, they prefer to travel in groups, seeking out kangaroos and other animals. This party's just located a flying fox colony. They don't use their spears to hunt the bats, preferring to hurl short, well-balanced sticks at their prey. In this area, boomerangs were never used for hunting. These large bats live in huge, noisy colonies, sleeping during the day and flying off at dusk in search of ripening fruit and flowers. When surprised, flying foxes take off screeching. Any that swoop too close to the ground or fail to gain height crash awkwardly into the treetops and are quickly and skillfully knocked down. game that the Aborigines hunt is killed immediately with a club or stick. This may appear cruel, but if an animal must be hunted for food, it should be killed as quickly as possible. It could escape, and the man has a family to feed. The bats are not skinned or cleaned in any way. The only preparation before cooking is the addition of certain varieties of eucalyptus leaves to the fire to give a flavour, a bit like adding herbs to a stew. The paper bark and sand covering retains the heat for this popular method of cooking. An hour later, dinner is served, and it's obvious that the Aborigines prefer their meat rare. In the late afternoon, I sit with Ordu and Collier and enjoy this primitive meal. Flying fox is an extremely rich meat, and although I find them tasty, I do like them prepared with a little more care, skinned, roasted and curried. Fortunately, Jowdy, my kelpie pup, is happy to accept anything going. After tea, Collier gives his pup a drink of water and a shower. The pup is not impressed with the cool treatment. This very aggressive and irate goanna is in trouble. The Aborigines want him to eat, and I want him alive for a museum specimen. For a few minutes, it looks as though the goanna will be the winner. But then he dives for his burrow. Ordu is determined not to let a good feed escape him, and for the next 2 hours, we dig. Ordu listens for the slightest sound, and at last pinpoints the exact position of his quarry and digs straight down. And now Ordu applies a little science. Reflecting the rays of the sun from the top of his cigarette tin into the hole, he sees the end of the tail just where he wants to grab it. I ask Ordu why he doesn't just kill the lizard before pulling it out, and he replies that the Wanambul always do it this way. Another tribe, over near the Fitzroy River, kill the goanna in the hole. So once again, I find an example of the complex laws covering all aspects of the Aboriginal way of life. The women, too, spend considerable time collecting food. They take me to a hive of the native bee, a small, inoffensive insect that cannot sting, which makes it a lot easier to collect the honey and wax. The honey, or sugar bag as all Aborigines in the north call it, is a favourite food. This is only a small hive and won't produce much. When the honey is eaten, the wax is collected for use in the manufacture of artifacts. After the sticky work for hours in the hot sun, the women relax and wash in one of the many small permanent creeks. These creeks have an abundance of food to offer. Here the women are gathering water lily bulbs. The stem below the small, narrow yellow flower on the surface is followed down to the bulb below in the mud. When food is scarce, these bulbs are collected in huge quantities. Roasted on the coals, they taste very much like sweet potato. Ordu, Jomari and Ardi have been out hunting and have arrived back with a kangaroo, the main source of meat for these people. Even the preparation of this animal is always carried out according to tribal custom. A very small incision is made in the stomach for the removal of the intestines. Ardi excavates an oven deep enough for the carcass. The intestines, a delicacy, are carefully rolled for cooking. A good big toe is essential equipment for this job. Wood, selected for its heating properties, is fired beside the oven to produce very hot coals. The small incision in the stomach is closed and the fur singed off. The tail, which will be cooked separately, is removed with an iron-tipped spearhead. Finally, the kangaroo is covered with hot coals and sand and left for several hours. Remove the sand and dinner's ready. One of the diseases that took a heavy toll of the Aboriginal population was leprosy, and even today it's a major health problem. Ardi, a happy, easygoing man, is worried. His badly clawed hands have broken out in sores again, probably when he was scraping the sand from the ground oven. Kim's father, a doctor, has supplied us with a comprehensive range of medicines. There's little Kim can do in this case but dress the wounds. Ardi knows that he'll have to return to the Derby leprosarium. We heard later that a number of his fingers would have to be amputated. Female kangaroos are better for eating, but it's the big males that are prized for their tail sinews, for the bindings used in spear making. When the longer sinews are pulled out, Ordu chews them to make them pliable, then wraps them around a spear shaft to dry. Before a female kangaroo is cooked, the longer, whiter fur is collected for spinning. Sand is rubbed into the hair to give it a better grip. Spinning any kind of short hair is difficult, yet these women make it look so simple. Before European clothes were introduced, every adult wore a pubic covering made from spun kangaroo fur attached to a plaited human hair belt. Today, these are rarely worn except by the very old or during ceremonies. One of the last of the old tribesmen is Umbogwan, a frail old man now. He's chewing white clay into a paste to make a stencil of his hand. Aboriginal stencils have aroused considerable interest throughout Australia because they're more commonly found than any other type of cave painting. Evidently, the Aborigines have always left these personal prints as a record of their having been in the caves, and possibly, too, as a contact with their spiritual ancestors. I felt very honoured and fortunate indeed to be able to record this event with the last of the Bushmen. As the old man moves off, he notices a frilled dragon. The younger people no longer eat these, but the old man remembers times when he hadn't eaten for many days, and he won't pass up a feed. In time, this pictograph will fade and disappear, just as the tribes and their culture will finally vanish. The oldest woman still active in the camp is May Wangan. She twists bark into string for binding the handle of a stone axe that she's making for me. Wangan remembers the time, before the introduction of the steel tomahawk, when everyone carried a stone axe. In this tribe, stone axe making is women's work, and Wangan fashions the article skillfully, using the sweet-smelling beeswax that we collected earlier. This is a rare opportunity for me to obtain a genuine implement. Didgeridoos are now world famous, but few people have ever seen one actually made. Ordu is out looking for the raw material. Wandering from tree to tree, he looks for signs of disease in the leaves and taps the trunk, alert for a hollow sound. Termites, often called white ants, live in colonies, gradually eating out the core of a tree. The timber is scraped and smoothed, and the dead wood removed. Red ochre, or a mixture of charcoal and tree resin, is used for colouring. Finally, tribal patterns are added for decoration. Didgeridoos from this remote Kimberley camp are being manufactured for sale throughout the world. From time immemorial, the Aborigines have engaged in controlled burning to make it easier for walking, to flush out game, and to attract certain species to the burnt-out areas. It's been said that over the centuries, the Aborigines have altered the ecosystem of Australia this way. Ordu is burning not far from the camp to attract bustards, the big wild turkeys. They arrive to feed on the burnt insects. These docile birds are rigidly protected, and only the Aborigines are allowed to take them. Within a fortnight, green shoots appear, attracting the kangaroos. Two of the young men are going to hunt them. Before they go, Yalgodi and Nyandet rub ant bed over their bodies, partly as camouflage and to disguise the human odour which the kangaroos would detect on the wind. Yalgodi jams a green leaf in the spear end. This will stop the wood squeaking, and the spear will fit the woomera more securely. Patiently, they move forward, progressing only when the kangaroos lie dozing in the shade. The men hunt in the heat of the day, when the kangaroos are least active. Ahead in the long spear grass is a big roo. But it spots them. Spears fly, and the chase is on. This big male was also brought down, and Nyandet prepares it for cooking. He rips out the liver, then unself-consciously satisfies his thirst and hunger. Most people are appalled at the thought of drinking blood, but it's very nourishing and high in food value. Towards the end of the dry season, the beautiful Kimberley billabongs make a cool contrast to the dry plains and stony country. There's nothing like a feed of water lilies to balance the diet. As the months pass without rain, many of the streams and billabongs shrink to shallow pools. The crocodiles, turtles and the fish can be pursued, and for a time the Aborigines hunt them relentlessly. Ordu and I are after black bream, a common fish and good to eat. With our spears, we push the scum from the surface and at the same time shepherd the fish into the shallows where they're easily speared. Turtle hunt is always good, clean fun. These reptiles are caught at the end of the dry season before the rains swell the rivers to flood again. Camouflaged against the rocks on the bottom, the turtles are well concealed. We form a chain across the pool, groping along the bottom. As the turtles double back past us, we grab them. This specimen won't be eaten. It's off to the Australian Museum in Sydney. Freshwater turtles are rich in fat and protein. The most dangerous reptile hunted in the backwaters is the crocodile. Nyalgodi, Nyandet, Manmara and Bolignon are after them. The crocs sun themselves on sandy banks and at the slightest hint of danger, hurtle into the water. Old Bolignon is the very last Aborigine to have spent his life in the bush. Only as recently as 1976, when his last wife died, he moved from his secret camp to be with his fellow tribesmen. Sadly, he recently had a stroke and is no longer the strong, able bushman he used to be. These Johnston River crocodiles, fish eaters, easily recognized by the long, thin snout, are shy creatures and will not under normal circumstances attack humans. Back in camp, Ordu is preparing fire-making sticks. First, a groove is cut into a long piece of wood, then another longer, straight piece is rounded at the end and fitted into the groove. The stone is used to collect the glowing wood dust. In less than a minute, the dust begins to smoulder and overflows onto the stone. When the Aborigines live in the towns, there is little traditional singing and dancing. Usually they're too despondent because of the overwhelming social problems, especially the excessive drinking. Out here in the bush, there's a different atmosphere, and the people often sing and perform corroborees. Dullen is preparing paper bark for a corroboree that is to be held in a few days' time. The string that she's dyeing will be used to hold paper bark hats in place. Aborigines from properties all over the Kimberley have gathered for this, the biggest festival in years. No sacred dances will be performed. It will all be purely for fun, and everyone's in high spirits. My Land Rover mirror is in great demand backstage in the makeup department. When the sun is low and the heat of the day past, the dancers move to an open area near the camp and the story begins. In the northern Kimberley near the coast, two warriors meet and exchange greetings. They decide to join forces to see what they can find. Meanwhile, down on the beach, a young man has just speared a dugong. He wakes his old and feeble father and tells him the good news. The old man is delighted. He picks up the dugong and they head for home to feast on the fresh meat. On the way, the warriors, having assembled a war party, confront them and carry off the dugong, leaving the frail old man and his son with nothing. The corroboree, choreographed by Nalgodi, is based on a dream about a childhood experience. Although he lives hundreds of kilometers from the sea, he visited the coast once with his family and camped with the coastal tribes. From this experience, he constructs the story in dance and song. Every show has its clowns, and these two have dressed to amuse. The masks are a recent introduction and they're great fun. This pantomime is acted purely for the merriment of the audience. The dancing, a farewell to us, continues late into the night. And after many exciting weeks, we're on the move again, heading south to the coast. Out on the plains, south of the Kimberley Ranges, we drive through a blazing scrub fire. We stop to save as many animals as we can and collect the rarer species. As the fire races through the last of the spinifex bushes beside the road, all kinds of reptiles are driven into the open. A Centralian blue-tongued lizard, a Burton's legless lizard, and a Gilbert's dragon. This black-headed python is lucky. Bewildered by the heat, it actually heads back into the burning spinifex, then retreats, just as Kim comes to its rescue. This frilled lizard is getting close to a roasting. When I grab him, the flames are already leaping around my legs. He's hardly a grateful survivor, though. These common but rarely seen Burton's legless lizards are quite harmless. They're often killed, mistaken for snakes. The blue-tongued skink is a slow-moving, inoffensive creature. Its threat display, a continual flickering of the tongue and the inhalation of air to enlarge its body, is pure pretense. Hundreds of these skinks are driven onto the road. Under normal conditions, these two would never meet at such close quarters, but here a territorial scuffle ensues. As soon as the flames subside, and even while the blackened aftermath still smoulders, the reptiles scurry back into whatever cover they can find. To stay in the open would mean almost certain death. Hovering overhead are the scavenging hawks and crows. Sadly, whenever there is a bushfire, the toll is high. This handful is just a sample of the number we saw burnt to death.